all the analysts and everything, psychologists, whatever else, that are going to be able to give them some insight as to what they need to be doing in pressure-filled situations like that. So I think they'll be okay, Ben.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is our Overwatch Contenders Australia Season 2 Grand Finals. The Sydney Drop Bears up against Darksided, live from the Melbourne Esports Open, live from Rod Laver Arena. I want to hear in the audience, who is going for the Drop Bears? Who thinks Darksided is going to win?
Darksided. Wow. It's definitely Darksided from the crowd at least, but we know the Aussies do like an underdog, and that is what Darksided are here. Very similar compositions coming out from both sides, perhaps both expecting to see a bit of a GOATS composition. But in the end, it's going to be Wrecking Ball on both sides. That's really cool. I love Wrecking Ball. I'm a big fan. And Molotov, ooh, that's a good start. He loves those 5 balls, and he's found Jordation.
That's a very big pick coming out there from the support. You don't see that all the time, but when you can get those picks, when your support who's supposed to be healing is DPSing, that's a big deal.
Yeah, similarly though, both of the healers now down for Darksided, so despite the fact that they get that opening kill, they start off the fight really well. Color Hex comes up big with a couple of frags, gets the kill onto Punk there as well. I mean, look, Sydney Drop Bears, they just answered that so easily.
Wow, and without anything further, really nothing else required. Color Hex, you can see why he's been picked up by an overseas team time and time again. He's just so darn good.
Absolutely, but Cap does go the way of Sydney Drop Bears, so they're just sitting pretty for the moment. Darksided haven't lost too much just yet. They need to be figuring out what they want to do here. However, they are running very similar compositions. Mooney has swapped off onto the Winston. Feels as though that's the better choice than the Wrecking Ball. But right now, it seems like a very quiet, slow game. Transcendence out.
Yeah. And the thing is here, if the Drop Bears have the point, they don't even want to be fighting on the point. If they can hold forward, don't need to fight too many battles. They're going to be feeling pretty good about this. Yuki trying to get onto the point, but Mooney's been taken down by Quats. The Drop Bears still feeling strong. You can see the ultimate starting to come up here for both teams. That's where we're going to see the difference. Yeah,
Jordation doing a bit of work in that last one. Did catch Molotov off guard. That's going to be a nice little cat and mouse game between the Zenyatta and the Sombra. Who can win that fight is going to be a big deal. But Jordation now with that EMP has a great chance to shut things down here.
Big EMP comes through. A Kraken picked up there as well by Mooney. Quats brings one back, however. It's a 1-for-1 trade. We'll see which one was more useful in the end. Color Hex gets low, stays alive. Big heals coming out there. Quats pushing through on the Wrecking Ball, and Molotov will pop that Transcendence.
So far, so good for the Sydney Drop Bears. No cap just yet for Darksided, and the fight's still kind of hanging in the balance here. Self-destruct is now out from Punk. That'll find Bertlog a big kick. Turbo also gets the D-Make onto Shoyo, and now this is Darksided starting to come back into their own.
This is exactly what they needed to do. Did not want to see the point get too far in the favor of the Drop Bears. However, 86% for really nothing used here from the Drop Bears. That's a pretty big advantage coming into this now. If they win one more fight, they almost win the round.
They certainly do. 86%, very, very nice start for the Drop Bears, but aren't they going to be able to close it out? We've seen those clutch plays already from Darksided. Color Hex does take a shot from Turbo, but the follow-up is not quite there.
Oh, uses a barrage.
Bertlog will go down as well. Turbo, that's massive.
2 big kills. That'll be enough to secure Darksided a victory in that fight. They need to do that another few times if they're going to keep their hopes here.
Very, very tough to get a kill like that with the Rocket Barrage onto a flying target, but the fact that Turbo was so close to those flyers of Sydney Drop Bears does allow him to just insta-give them, essentially. Normally you won't see it work like that, but that's great work from Turbo.
Color Hex now has his Rocket Barrage available. We've seen some big plays from him so far today. Let's see what we can do here. 86 to 49% right now. Darksided holding the point, but the Drop Bears still in an advantageous position. And you can see the rockets going back and forth between the Pharahs. Very difficult to hit those targets.
Yeah, Molotov in trouble now. There's no way he survives here. Surely he will go down. Jordation gets the kill, but in the meanwhile, Mooney is wreaking havoc in the back lines of the Sydney Drop Bears. Color Hex still not finding an opening for that Rocket Barrage. This time, Turbo again taking an air shot. We've seen a few of them from Color Hex, but he can't get that second follow-up. You need 2 shots from the Pharah to kill the opposing Pharah.
Quats here on the Wrecking Ball, waiting. He has his mines. All he wants to do is get into the air, hit his Q, drop the mines, and drop the Wrecking Ball onto the ground with that big pile driver. Onto the point he goes, going to try and bring this back, weighted to 90%. I don't know if it's going to be enough. I guess he's just baiting them away. Wants to get the right initiation for his team. This is a crucial fight right now. The winner of this fight wins the round.
Transcendence was popped there. Colourhex might go down. No, he won't. The self-destruct doesn't connect, but Turmo does. So that's a player advantage now for Darkseid. It's been a good comeback so far, but they need to clean up this round. Molotov doesn't have the Transcendence, and Quartz with the mines gets both the healers.
Oh, wow. You do not see that every day at all. Onto the point. File the drop bears. It's 92 to 99.
Who can touch? No one. Surely I don't think there's anyone that's going to be close by right
they
now.
They are so far out of range. Mooney trying his
Primal.
best. Will pop the Primal Rage. That makes the Winston almost unkillable. But he's going to get forced off the point. Molotov coming in through as well, doing his best. But Colourhex has a rocket barrage, throws it out, finds one, finds a second self-destruct. Not going to find the kills they want. And well, that's going to go across to the drop bear.
100% to 99. A good start there to the series, and hopefully it's going to continue like that as close as possible. I got to say, though, that felt like a pretty low stakes round, in a sense. It didn't feel like it had too much pressure for either of those teams. It felt like a bit of a feel around where they're both trying to figure out what each other's doing, try and get their way into this series slowly but surely.
I guess the reality is, though, is that if you are going to have one of those rounds, you want to be the team that comes out with the win. And that's what the Drop Bears have done. They're now 1-0 up here in a best of 3 for Control, a best of 7, obviously, for the match. Not a bad start, but it certainly wasn't one-sided.
Yeah, definitely not. There was a lot of small things in there, like the Jordation versus Molotov, the Colourhex versus Turmo. Lots of mini individual skirmishes, but it didn't feel like there was an overall picture from either of those teams so much. But let's see what's going to happen here. Again, now into the second round of Lijiang Tower. Quartz still hanging on that Wrecking Ball. Mooney hasn't picked it up again, so he's been forced off that, or perhaps he's just decided he doesn't want to play that. But a Kraken goes flying off the edge. Not sure what's happened there.
See you later, a Kraken. See you later, Quartz. Darkseid going to find the advantage here to start things off on round number 2 of Lijiang Tower. They will be able to cap it up here. Good start.
Yeah, given how close the last round was, it's, of course, fantastic for Darkseid to be starting off with the cap. Drop Bears were the ones that started off. Had Darkseid been able to do that, had they got the first cap on the first round, we could have seen a completely different scoreline there in the first round of Lijiang Tower. So, Darkseid this time, they've got the advantage. Let's see if they can consolidate and get a win off it.
Yuki finds Jordation. That is a crucial pick. A Kraken actually brings Turmo down as well. That's a 1-for-1 trade. Yuki has this pulse bomb as well. If he can stick it onto a support, it will essentially eliminate them in seconds, Jordan.
Yeah, not even seconds, instantly, really. As long as he gets the connection, there's nothing really that can stop him right now, short of Choyo hitting it with the defense matrix, eating it all up with the Diva. Quartz, however, has taken down Yuki, so no longer a problem on the side of Sydney Drop Bears.
Colourhex going to find Candace as well. That's a support out. Very difficult to deal with. Finds Molotov as well. Colourhex so darn good. I'll say it again. Punk looking low. Should get demec'd here as well. Mooney's been found out. This is a pretty difficult situation now for Darkseid. They should lose the point right here, but at least they got to 60%.
Yeah, but they want to just keep jumping on, touching it, allowing that cap timer to build up slowly but surely, even if it's just one player. As soon as it gets to 99%, that's when they'll reset, and that's when they'll try and start to actually win the fight. For now, it's just stall measures for Darkseid.
Yeah, an extra 10% isn't half bad either, so they'll be pretty happy with that. Up to 72% so far. Colourhex says, I have had enough. We need to capture this one right now. Throws out a barrage, finds the kills. Eventually, surely it does go over. EMP coming out from Jordation as well. They are throwing so much into this, Jordan.
They are.
Darkseid are really pulling every penny out of the Sydney Drop Bears pocket.
Exactly. That's great work from Darkseid. They were losing that fight for the better part of 30 or 40%, but in the end, they managed to take out Rocket Barrage. They managed to take out EMP from the Sydney Drop Bears. In saying that, though, there's still 4 ultimates on that top left screen of Sydney Drop Bears. So they're pretty comfortable in holding on to this point, but they have to hold on to it for a long time.
They certainly do. A lot of work still left to go. Jordation, he keeps going invisible here on the Sombra, trying to get a hack onto one of the players' spots. You can see on the Wrecking Ball, this big tank, this ball that rolls around. He has his ultimate available as ready. He'll drop some mines all over the battlefield, making it very difficult to get through. And the Drop Bears, they are pushing a long way forward here. They need to get as many percentage points as they can.
But, Ben, they do use the nano boost there. They do use the self-destruct as well. Neither of the DPS ultimates are up. Look at Darksided. They've got all 6 available. Kansas has just popped off the Valkyrie. Darksided are coming in with everything available to them. They need to be able to cap this one back now.
They're getting halfway there. Still need to do more work. A Kraken goes down. Mooney finding that kill. Rocket Barrage comes through. Shoyo, see you later. Turmo finds that kill as well. Darksided looking pretty good right now. Looking to bring it back up to 90%. They've got the point. They're pushing forward. Can they do it?
Sydney Drop Bears realize that they have one more chance here. They're going to allow the cap to go across. Punk, that is a huge self-destruct. Maybe no one can touch now. No, Quats is on the point there with the Wrecking Ball, so there is still a chance here for the Sydney Drop Bears, but Darksided now have the prime position to close this round out.
Quats uses his Q, but he goes down almost immediately to Mooney. Turmo on the point. Doesn't have an ulti available for him, but does get caught out by Quats in the end. That's a little bit surprising. Yuki Punk, both going to find frags. Rocket Barrage comes through. That's Color Hex. Who does he get? The answer is no one, but Yuki and Candace both go down. But 100% goes across the dark side.
I want to give a small mini shout out there to Punk. He was able to get that defense matrix up, really shut down Color Hex, or the majority of Color Hex's Rocket Barrage there, and really that could have potentially been the difference. Had that Rocket Barrage found 1 or 2 players, who knows whether or not Sydney Drop Bears would have been able to cap that point back. In the end, we're now at 1 apiece here, heading on to the 3rd round.
How does this next round impact us in terms of meta, Jordan? What are we going to see? It's a little bit different.
Well, there's a lot to think about because this is a more of an enclosed kind of a point here that we're moving on to. So we could potentially see that GOATS composition coming out from either or both of these 2 teams. They have been quite comfortable, happy to pick it up in their previous matches in their semi-finals. That's exactly what we're going to get to see. Again, another mirror match. Both these 2 teams seem to be really on the same wavelength. We're seeing very similar compositions out at the same time. Now, I do think Darksided struggled a little bit with the GOATS against Order, so let's see if they can get it done against the Drop Bears.
3 tanks, 3 supports versus 3 tanks, 3 supports. No DPS on either side.
Mooney has been isolated.
And Mooney not looking good. Going to get saved for the moment by the Zarya. Turmo doing lots of work right now. Already up to 70% is Quats with his, oh my goodness, almost available.
97% Mooney versus Quats. And whoever gets the first shatter off, this is going to be massive.
Oh my
Quats
goodness.
gets the first one. Where's the follow-up though? It's not there at all. Mooney's got the shatter now, and he hits the big one. The swing is right back. The counter charge now from Darksided. But again, this is the nature of GOATS. No one can kill each other.
That's the problem when everyone heals. Everyone has a lot of HP. Everyone stays alive. Shoyo found out by Mooney for now. Self-destruct comes back along the other side.
Big
Bertlog. That is a huge kill.
Yeah, not only the heals, but the mobility now is a little bit taken away from the Sydney Drop Bears. Quats trades back Mooney. Another Earth Shatter.
How did he have it already? That is incredible.
The fight continues, Ben. The fight continues, and still no one has managed to cap this first point. Sydney Drop Bears eventually will win that war of attrition, but that was a crazy fight.
Wow.
Woo.
I feel like we're 3 maps in, Jordan. We've only just started this grand final. GOATS up against GOATS, 6 tanks on the battlefield. Takes a long time to eat through all that HP.
Yeah, a lot of armor out on both sides as well because the rally is going to be available here for Color Hex. That's going to be a problem for Darksided coming into this fight. Graviton is available for Jordation. He'll throw it out. A good one there.
Big Graviton surge. Bertlog goes down. Yuki doing work. Coalescence comes out from Darksided right now. Quats comes through, picks up the Zarya, but does not have enough damage to finish him off. Shoyo's being
what happened to Jordation?
Jordation goes down. Who even knows? And Darksided will be able to recapture the point in just a second, Jordan. The thing is here, when you're talking about GOATS, when you're talking about how these fights take so long, whoever has the point has such a huge advantage.
But only 40% capped up there by Sydney Drop Bears, so that's a pretty quick flip from Darksided. Absolutely preposterous fights up to this point, and we're going to get to see that throughout the rest of it. Now we've got 2 sound barriers available. Each team's kind of going blow for blow as far as the ultimates are concerned. Darksided a little bit favored at the moment because of that self-destruct. Not going to connect anything, but will have done some damage to shields and the like.
2 sound barriers, 1 for either side. Everyone with so much HP right now. Mooney almost has this ready to go.
Quats as well.
Quats. There you go, a Kraken will throw through the Coalescence, and it's the Drop Bears who get a first crucial Earth Shatter.
Oh, what is going on in this fight, Ben? It's so hard to tell. It's just a crazy mess of ultimates on the screen, but Darksided, they still have control of the point. They're up to 43% now. They have the advantage. Does look like Sydney Drop Bears is getting the better of this fight now as they have the numbers. They have the war of attrition again working in their favor. But Darksided, they're going to reset. They've got 53% up on the board. They're going to come back in for another fight with the Earth Shatter, with the rally, and maybe even with the sound barrier. There's a lot there to play with. And for Sydney Drop Bears, they only really have that Graviton Surge. And past that, there's not that much follow-up.
Exactly. Graviton Surge is great at getting everyone together, but you need to follow it up with some damage. Short of Klotz coming through with a big swinging Reinhardt hammer, it does not really do all that much. The Jordation has it ready, throws it through. They're all caught together, but as you can see, everyone's still alive. It's actually Klotz who ends up going down. That's Termo finding the kill as well. Up to 67% right now. The Drop Bears, they are on the point. They're getting the ticks in their favor, but Darksided is winning the fight.
Yeah, the pendulum swings one way and then back the other as each team takes turns to win the fight. This time, it'll be Darksided. They get the ultimates in their favor. A contest comes out once more from the Sydney Drop Bears. They almost have the Earth Shatter. They've got the Coalescence here. A pin onto Mooney doesn't net a kill there for the Sydney Drop Bears, and this will be Darksided once again recapping that point. But it is just an insane fight. The problem there for Sydney Drop Bears was, despite the fact that they have the Graviton Surge, they don't have the follow-up with the GOAT's composition. There's too much healing, too much shields on the side of Darksided. They can't get anything done with that. And now Darksided is really looking to pressure the Drop Bears here because they know if they lose another fight, they're up to 88% already. This is going to be a real problem for Darksided.
Big Earth Shatter comes out from the Drop Bears. Look at that. Now they need to follow up with the damage. Molotov, Cantus, Yuki, Mooney, Termo, all down. The Drop Bears going to bring it back and capture it. 89%.
Still one more chance here for Darksided. Yuki swapped over onto Wrecking Ball. He wants to get into that point very, very quickly indeed. No more real GOAT's composition for Darksided, but it's still the same concept. Let's see if he can get onto the point, swing around that pole in the middle, cause a ruckus.
Oh, Earth Shatter stopped in its tracks. Let's see how this plays out. Mooney has one of his own. This needs to be huge. Gets around the back of the team. When's he going to throw it out? Not yet. Still holding. 99. Throws it through.
What?
Is that blocked? Yes. Oh my goodness. I didn't even know how it was stopped.
He got booped, man. He got booped, and that gave the time for the shield to come up from Quads. Still winnable here for both teams, but Darksided are finding the kills that they need. Sydney Drop Bears once again are going to be pushed away. And a Graviton Surge out from Jordation, too late. It's not going to make a difference.
It is not. And now if we look at these teams, we look at what they've got to deal with. Termo sitting there right now, ready to go with a Graviton Surge. Molotov almost up to 100% as well.
And there's nothing for the Drop Bears. They've got absolutely nothing. 60% for Quads. That's the highest ultimate that they've got. Darksided should win this.
This is very close. Termo with a crucial Graviton Surge can steal the deal right now. Color Hex down. The team still gets onto the point, doing what they can, but the Drop Bears, in their desperation, are losing too many players. Earth Shatter comes out once again. Shoyo is DMAC. Jordan down. Oh my goodness, Yuki! This is going to be it. Incredible. Darksided going to pick up Lijiang Tower right here, right now. They're going to be up 1-0 in this huge best of 7 grand final.
That is ludicrous from both of those teams. What a crazy, crazy, crazy third round of Lijiang Tower. I am almost lost for words, Ben. I think I need to take a 5-minute breather.
Yeah, I think we all do, to be perfectly honest. It does not get any closer than what we just saw. And to be honest, in that one map, Avril, Darksided have managed to double the number of maps that the Drop Bears have lost this season.
And that's exactly the fact, right? This is number 2, the only other loss that the Sydney Drop Bears have had in terms of maps this entire season. And I feel like we've just completely gone back to Lijiang Tower on Darksided versus Aura. I mean, we were just there. It was this intense. Darksided are back. They win another Lijiang Tower. They win the control map. And this is it. This is Darksided getting that lead.
Pixie, that was actually incredible.
Are you sure this is only the first game of the series?
I feel like I've casted an entire series at this point.
Goats! Goats!
Yeah.
I love goats!
Yeah,
that was incredible.
And I think the thing to reiterate here, for those of you who are not familiar, usually, traditionally, you run 2 supports, 2 tanks, 2 damage dealers. The supports keep everyone alive, the tanks block the damage dealers deal the damage. In this, you have 3 healers, 3 supports, 3 tanks. Everyone has so much HP. Everyone stays alive. No one does that much damage. It goes forever.
And that's why getting the first ultimate is so important. That's why getting the first capture on the point, getting progression on objective becomes such a big deal. That's why Darkside had such an edge against Order, and now Darkside against the Sydney Drop Bears. Again, if they can get early ultimates and get value on the ultimates, it's not just a numbers game, it's what you get out of them.
And that's a good point you make, actually, because this is Darksided who also beat Order in that exact same situation. Ghost beat Ghost on Control Center when we complemented Order's Ghost. This is something that Darksided just have up on everyone else in this tournament right now.
And how big a deal is that, Jordan? When we've talked about how important this GOATS comp is, if you've got the better team comp, that must be a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it can't really be undersold how important the GOATS composition is in the current meta. A lot of the supposed counters aren't necessarily always 100% a counter. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to pick the Pharah, it's going to counter the GOATS composition, because it doesn't work like that. You need to know how to execute it, how to flank around that shield. Otherwise, you're just a Pharah flying in the air, shooting a Reinhardt shield and doing no damage. So sometimes you have to go GOATS versus GOATS, bring the hammer to the anvil, and in this case, Darksided apparently has the advantage there.
Only very just, apparently, but still advantage nonetheless. And Avril, we talked about how important winning control is, and if you win control once, maybe you can win control twice. And right now, if this goes all the way, Darksided is looking okay.
And I think getting those early map wins, especially against a team like the Sydney Drop Bears, so important. Kanga couldn't do it, but if Kanga had gotten one map, maybe the belief is there, maybe the confidence is there. Let's not forget, Sydney Drop Bears are the returning champions, the defending champions. They are inherently favored. So Darksided coming in, getting a confident win right out the gate is exactly the precedent they need to set.
Yeah, that's what they wanted to do. Coming off what was a very tight victory. However they were feeling before, now they've got the win. That adrenaline is still there. They must be feeling great. This is what they need to do if they are going to win. They want to sort of springboard from here and take as many maps in a row as they can. We head over to the next game mode. What are the Drop Bears going to pick here, Pixie?
Who knows?
Yeah,
right?
We haven't seen the pick, right?
Exactly, that's the real answer. And what did I say, right? Like, Darksided, they have the momentum coming into this. They've proved that they can win when they're in those really tight, down-to-the-wire situations. Now they've got that one-map up. It's Drop Bears in that back foot situation where they have so rarely been. They're the ones picking a map. Sure, maybe that's an opportunity to turn it back around, but all that really does is confirm that we've got a long series on our hands, because Darksided, they've proved that they can best Drop Bears, at least partially. Now it's on Drop Bears to answer.
What do you think, Avril, heading into Hybrid? What do you expect to see? Do you have any idea at all what the Drop Bears are going to pick?
I think Eichenwalde is going to be a very good pick. You look back at the Kanga series, that was, I mean, that map didn't technically count, but it was super, super dominant. Full hold on that A point, didn't give anything to Kanga. And let's not forget, Pharah is still a great pick for Color Hex. I do have some concerns now because Turmo is such a good Pharah himself that he can match and then even overtake Color Hex. There it is.
Oh, look at this. This is why we pay you the big bucks, Avril. It all makes sense.
I think this is the right choice. Like Avril said here from Sydney Drop Bears, we haven't seen too much of their hybrid maps. So they've played a couple of times on Eichenwalde, only once on Kings Row. Of course, 100% win rate throughout the season. We haven't seen them pick this because they've never lost on Control. But on the other side of the coin, Darksided have looked very, very good on Kings Row. So I do think this is the correct choice for Sydney Drop Bears. I do think it's a little advantageous for them, and I think that they're going to strike back.
Well, let's go and have a bit of a reminder of what Eichenwalde is all about.
This is Hybrid. Two teams face off as either defenders or attackers. The attacking team has a limited amount of time to first capture a payload and then escort it along a set path containing 2 checkpoints. To capture the payload, the attackers need to stand within its range for a set amount of time. Defenders can delay capture progress by also standing in range. The attackers must work together to clear away the defenders. If successful, they score 1 point and gain additional time on the clock. The payload only moves forward when an attacker stands near it. Defenders can delay the payload's movement by standing nearby. To get moving again, the attackers must clear away the defenders by force. If even one attacker is capturing the objective or on the payload when the time runs out, the game enters overtime. This extends play indefinitely until the attackers are either cleared away or they gain more time by reaching a checkpoint. Every time the payload reaches a checkpoint, the attackers score 1 point and gain additional time on the clock. The round ends when the payload reaches the destination or when time runs out. Teams switch sides each round. Whichever team scores the most points and escorts the payload farthest wins.
I'm glad we have that refresher video, Jordan, because to be fair, we haven't actually seen much of Eichenwalde at all today. Even when we did see it, we only saw the first little bit. It's like going to a new country and only seeing it out from the airport.
Yeah, it's like going to an event and only ever working the event and going to the hotel. We've done that before. But look, I'm very, very excited for this one on Eichenwalde. You're right, we haven't seen too much of it. I think this is going to be a good contest. I do think both the teams are going to be prepared on this map. So it should be a close one. I'm hoping that we're going to get to go all the way and have a bit of an exploration through Eichenwalde.
Yeah, absolutely. Avril, we've spoken about shaking these teams and seeing what falls out. We haven't shaken much here for the Drop Bears up until now, but I can tell you, Darksided have that tree and they're going like these ones. Is the Drop Bear going to fall out?
I think it'll be quite scary if one does, and maybe Darksided don't want to go that far. They like to beat Darksided in a way where they maybe don't make them too angry, but at this rate, it's the second map of the season that they've lost. I mean, this is now the Sydney Drop Bears thinking, okay, it's time to turn it up a notch.
Pixie, your last thoughts?
Well, I mean, I think they can turn it up a notch. It's Eichenwalde. They clearly want it, and we saw how good they can be on it.
Well, Elfish Guy, we're heading to Eichenwalde. It is hybrid. It is a map that has been chosen by the Sydney Drop Bears. And the thing for me that is interesting is that because Darksided didn't pick the map, they get to pick the side. And look at this. They're going to pick attack.
Yeah, that's a little bit interesting, I guess, but shows perhaps a little bit of confidence out from the Darksided roster. What I'm really keen to see again is that Pharah Mercy combo on both sides. We obviously had it from Turmo and Cantus in the first map there, and then Colorhex and Vertlog as well. But not only that, once we get potentially, I guess, potentially past that first hopefully past point A, where the Widowmakers are going to come out here, if the Widowmakers are going to come out here, because we've got Colorhex up against Turmo, two of the best Widowmakers in the region, and that would be a bit of a treat.
And we've actually seen very little sniper action today as well. Just like a month ago, it was Widow v Widow, Hanzo v Hanzo. It was big plays. This has been very different today.
Yeah, certainly has. Once again, Sydney Drop Bears, you go back, you say their double sniper, has been so strong. Something else that's been very, very strong for them, particularly on this map, has been that triple DPS setup. A Kraken, once again, going to be flexing onto the Sombra. I think he was very good on that in their match against Kanga. Certainly had a lot of success. Let's see if it's going to work against Darksided, though.
Well, Darksided coming out here on attack. Let's see what they can do. Hopefully more successful than last time we saw teams go head-to-head today on Eichenwalde. I suspect this one is going to be very, very close. Colorhex out on the Pharah. Again, looking for that Pharah v Pharah gameplay. Those rockets so hard to hit.
Yeah, Colorhex certainly has been on point with the mid-air shots. Once again, we've got Mooney onto the Wrecking Ball. Turmo does get low for a moment there, but he's okay, looking for a shot, but it's actually going to be pumped to find Colorhex. The good chase. They knew the Colorhex was low. They shut him down, but in the meanwhile, Mooney has dropped as well, so it's 5v5 for now.
This is good play coming out from Darksided right now. Going to get the hack as well.
That's
over across to a Kraken.
He can't translocate out.
I'll see you later. Big, big play. Squat's trying to do what he can. The Wrecking Ball coming through from the other side as well. They're on to the point. They're pushing through. Darksided with numbers for now. Let's see how this plays out. Mooney doing what he can as well. Colorhex picked up there by Yuki. Yeah. This is going to be enough. They might be able to cap it straight away.
Yeah, but we've still got a couple of players hanging around for Sydney Drop Bears. They're going to try and buy as much time as they can, but they know that this one is going to be lost. It's really just stall here from a Kraken, and that is going to be it. Cap out for Darksided. They did a much better job of shutting down Colorhex on that Pharah than what Kanga was able to do, but this is what I'm talking about. Colorhex immediately swaps off the Pharah, doesn't care that he's close to the ultimate, straight onto the Widowmaker, which is so powerful on this phase of the map. Similarly, Turmo as well, swapping straight onto the Widowmaker. This is exactly what I wanted to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Such a crucial part of this game is not only picking which hero to play, but knowing when to change off and try someone different. Coming on to the second phase, and Colorhex straight away. Well, as you said, Jordan, having a huge impact.
That is maybe a bit of a word into the ear of Turmo, saying, hey, you better watch out. I'm Colorhex, I'm the best Widowmaker in the region. Turmo's going to try and do something in response. Yuki the moment does have an EMP, but he's just trying to get some info, scouting around, looking for some players. EMP out.
That's a big EMP, going to catch any number of Drop Bears players as well. They need to follow up, they need to get the kills there, otherwise it's useless. Self-destruct comes through here from the Drop Bears. Are we going to find anyone? Not this time around. Molotov goes down actually to the ultimate coming out here from Quat, so that's a pretty big deal. Mooney picked up as well. The Drop Bears looking strong in defense on phase B.
Yeah, they certainly are right now. Color Hex is providing a lot of damage and a lot of zone control as well with that Widowmaker. We also get to see Jordation on Hanzo here, already up to 95%. Haven't even talked about him yet, but he's been doing phenomenally and very, very quickly charging that ultimate up. Admittedly, not a lot to combo with it, but even still, it's good for creating space, it's good for splitting up the opponents, and it's just all around a very, very strong hero here for Jordation. So this is a little bit scary now for Darksided.
Jordation has a big ultimate available, Dragon Strike. Going to throw 2 big dragons into the midst of his opponents. He just needs to line it up. And Turbo takes one back. Burtlock down as well, no resurrection.
What can Turbo do now that he doesn't have that ever-present threat of Color Hex? Well, he's going to jump right on top of the main tank. Quats goes down as well. Darksided now have the advantage. They're starting to push that payload on forward. And Sydney Drop Bears, they will get one more attempt at defending point B here, but Darksided have at least started to progress.
Yeah, that momentum is starting to come forward now for Darksided. Coming through to the end of point B, they just need to get the payload across the bridge through to the door. If they do, they get more time once again. Molotov going to get caught out there by Quads, that's less than ideal. Dragon Strike comes through, but there is nobody there right now. Molotov picked back up by Cantus, the resurrection save him there, and Turbo finds a Kraken.
Yeah, big pick there as well, considering a Kraken, one of the healers, always a prime target. Turbo will go down, however, to the self-destruct of Shoyo. There's trades backwards and forwards. A Rez in there as well for Burtlock, so fairly even at the moment. Quad's coming in, though, with the mines. He's going to isolate all the healers away from the team.
Oh, man, and you can see just how
it doesn't matter. They weren't on the point, Ben. City Drop Bears weren't on the point.
And look at that, 3:44 on the clock. Darksided make their way through to point B. Only C remains. We have not seen this part today.
No, we haven't, but there's a lot of time right now for Darksided. You don't typically get 2 point C this quickly. 3.5 minutes left for Darksided. That's plenty of time. They can even potentially swap their composition up if what they're running is not working.
Yep.
Maybe they can go onto Goats. Nice and very enclosed space here.
Plus,
we've already seen that work once.
Transcendence into Primal Rage. This could be huge right now for Darksided. Molotov going to pop that Transcendence, keeping his team alive. Mooney not needing to use his ultimate just yet. Cantus very low. Judation has gone down. Finally, Cantus picked up. Color Hex goes down as well. Darksided with an advantage right now. Self-destruct comes out from the Drop Bears on defense. Won't find any kills, and one by one, the kills going in favor of Darksided.
It's not over just yet though, Ben. Darksided still need to push this one all the way. Quats is the only man standing there with an ultimate available for Sydney Drop Bears. So once again, we look for a large Earth Shatter here, but look at what Darksided have to play with.
Rally is popped as well. That gives everyone a ton of armor to work with. You can see Punk has a self-destruct. Mooney still hasn't used his ultimate. Turbo goes down to Quats. That's actually really, really big right now. So is Quats going down to 1-for-1 trade. Darksided still looking good. They need to find another kill. If they do that, they are going to get this with so much time on the clock. Mooney is low. He pops his Primal Rage. That fills his health bar all the way back up. The Drop Bears with the spawn advantage. Color Hex goes down on defense. Darksided continuing to push through, but they are not getting the kills they need.
No, they're not, but they're going to have that Graviton Surge up very shortly. Molotov will go down to Shoyo. I think that's going to put the brakes on things a little bit here for Darksided. If Molotov would have survived there, we might have seen the Graviton Surge out from Turbo. They might have really committed to that fight, but losing your Discord Orb in a composition like this is such a big deal for Darksided. They're not going to have the damage to push through, even if the grab hits all 6 members of Sydney Drop Bears. So they're going to reset. They're going to slow things down. Mooney's gone back onto the Reinhardt to block the shatter that Quats has got available to him. This is still possible for Darksided, but Sydney Drop Bears are doing a great job of eating up that time that Darksided had available.
Rally is popped with the defender side this time around. Sorry, make that attackers even. I'm surprised it was always available. Going to try and push through. Look, that's going to be very useful as well. Self-destruct now over the top, but everyone getting out of dodge. Everyone's still alive for the Drop Bears and for Darksided. But Punk, he finds Shoyo along with Mooney. That is a big pick now for Darksided here on attack. They just need to be very, very careful. No more ultimates available here for the Drop Bears either. If Darksided find the picks, they will get this across the line.
Molotov, the unsung hero there in that grab trade, had the Transcenders that kept everyone on Darksided alive while they got 2 picks onto the Drop Bears players. Yuki with another rally out. He spotted Color Hex, but in the end, he's going to go down to Turmo. Darksided now. They're potentially able to close this map out. Turmo's fully charged, doing a lot of damage. Mooney up to the Earth Shatter very, very shortly, and this is now triple time for Sydney Drop Bears.
Yeah, one by one, they need to get onto the payload. A Kraken tries his best, but the self-destruct's available now. That will pick up everyone on the payload. And Darksided will complete Eichenwald.
30 seconds left there for them, so it was a good defense from Sydney Drop Bears. They can't be disappointed by that. It was very fast through point A and very fast through point B, but they did get stalled up a little bit towards point C. So not the end of the world for Sydney Drop Bears, but they do still have that whole attacking side ahead of them. I don't think it's going to be an easy task. We've seen how strong how strong Darksided have been on their defensive sides. I throw my mind back to Rialto, and look, man, maybe it was a little bit clutch, maybe it was a little bit lucky, but if they can pull something like that off again, you think how difficult it's going to be for Sydney Drop Bears to potentially even finish Eichenwald.
Look, we're talking about how these two teams come together. Darksided had a slow start this season. The Drop Bears have not been stopped at all so far in Season 2 of Contenders. And right now, if Darksided can make this 2-0, well, that would be such an incredible point to be in this best of 7.
That would be such a massive curveball here. Like I said, I thought maybe Sydney Drop Bears 4-2. That was my prediction. At the moment, I'm feeling a little bit worried about that because I think Darksided are looking very, very good in this matchup. I think this one's going down to the wire based on what we've seen so far. But if Darksided is able to go 2-0 up here, that's where we're really going to get to see if Sydney Drop Bears is that all-star team, that team that really deserves to be called the best in the region, if they're going to be building that dynasty or not, if they can come back from a deficit like that, then they deserve all these accolades. But if they go down 0-2 and just fall to bits and capitulate, then there's always going to be that question mark in the back of your mind. What if things would have gone another way? Are Sydney Drop Bears really as good as they deserve to be called? Who knows? We're going to find out.
It's a very different story, right? Because this is the first time we've seen these teams in front of such a big crowd. It's such a big day. I think there's a lot of pressure on the Drop Bears as well. A lot is being asked of them. It's one thing to be the underdogs and come through and pick up season number 1. Season number 2, the pressure's been there the entire time.
Yeah, it certainly has. But here come the Drop Bears on attack. Color Hex once again out on that far. Fairly standard composition here for Sydney Drop Bears. A little dive-oriented with those 2 tanks, the Winston and the Diva. They just want to be jumping into the Darksided roster and causing havoc. That way, Color Hex will then follow up with the Pharah dive bombing in from the skies. And of course, Jordation on the flanks with that Hanzo as he likes to do. But Darksided, they want to build that bunker behind the Orisa, allow Turmo to run around on the flanks, allow Yuki to get that artillery strike down from above and play out the long game.
I love that Darksided chose to attack first, and now they put this pressure on the Drop Bears to perform. They know they need to get through to the end, Gordon. Darksided going to get caught out here in and amongst that barrier behind there in the room. The kills, though, were going across to Darksided to start with, but Drop Bears bring it back a little bit.
Just a little bit, but it's not over here at the moment. Darksided's going to give up some ticks, but they will recontest before the cap does come across. Cantus somehow gets away with that res. Sydney Drop Bears not able to deny that one. So, Darksided, despite giving up 2 ticks, are going to hold for the moment.
For now, though, every second counts, Jordan. And look at that, a huge Dragon Strike going to
Color Hex!
Mooney. Yuki goes down as well.
Look at this!
Oh, that trance going to save the day. Almost. Turmo goes down. Color Hex picked up as the Diva flies in front of him, forces all those explosions to go off in front of his space. You've got to be real careful there as the Pharah. But right now, Drop Bears on the point. They will secure point A.
Yeah, so fairly quick cap out from Drop Bears. No real harm done there for them. Of course, I feel as though it took a little bit more time than it did for Darksided, but at the end of the day, they still have plenty of time, and it depends on how this second phase of the map does go. Remember, Sydney Drop Bears did stall Darksided a little bit here. Let's see if Darksided can do the same. Once again, we're going to see Turmo go back onto the Widowmaker. The change up, however, for Sydney Drop Bears is the Color Hex is onto the Genji, and he's a very, very strong Genji player. This is going to play a little bit with the minds of Turmo, and that is certainly going to play a little bit with his mind as well.
Kraken coming out, the support player doing the damage, finding the Widow. Normally that's Predator versus Prey, and this time it's gone the other way around.
Not a very fun scenario there for Turmo, but it's not the end of the world here for Darksided on point B. They are still going to be able to recontest. That gives a lot of room to work with the Sydney Drop Bears. They're going to be feeling a little bit more comfortable now. They get a lot of free payload push. Also allows those ultimates to come up. And for Darksided, there's not a whole lot here. If Punk can't get much done with this self-destruct, I think Sydney Drop Bears are just going to waltz through this point B, and then once we get to point C, then the pressure's back on
lined up
Darksided.
through the team. Are we going to find any kills? Not this time. Self-destruct coming out from Darksided.
Oh no, that's big.
Bertlog, that is such a big pick. No mercy means no resurrection, and of course, no heals. So that will stop this push in its tracks. The Kraken goes down as well. Darksided starting to build up a number of ultimates right now, Jordan. They're going to fight it out on the bridge.
Yeah, Turbo saves Molotov there and follows up with a couple of nice shots as well. He's looking pretty good here on this Widowmaker, and now with that infra side available, that's going to make the job even easier. But on the other side of the coin, Colorhex with the Dragon Blade. We haven't seen too much out of him on the Genji so far here at this event, but throughout the season, he was very, very solid on that one.
Infrasight going to come out from Turbo. That allows the whole team to see where their opponents are for a short period of time. It is a huge advantage, and you can see everyone trying to stay away. It essentially wastes a good 10 seconds on the clock, Jordan, and that's very, very useful right now. If we take a look at Darksided, 1, 2, 3 ultimates available for them. The Drop Bears, they've got Color Hex ready, Jordation almost ready, and Quats almost ready as well.
Sydney Drop Bears just going to compose themselves, but Punk finds another pick here. And this is a little bit problematic for Sydney Drop Bears. Every time they try to set up for a fight, every time they try to set up for something, they're losing a player. You can see Color Hex is itching to get the Dragon Blade off, but he just doesn't have the opportunity right now. When Sydney Drop Bears are playing 5 versus 6, it's better to hold on to those ultimates, have a real committed fight with the entire team there. That's the opportunity for Sydney Drop Bears, and now it's been opened up. A Kraken, again, a big, big pick.
Yeah, 2 big picks, that is, makes that 3. The Drop Bears will win that fight and will do it without using any real ultimates at all.
In the end, it doesn't even come down to the ultimates for Sydney Drop Bears. That's insane. A Kraken opens up, and then we also see Molotov go down straight after Cantus. As soon as Sydney Drop Bears know that both the healers are down, they know that Darksided aren't going to be able to take that war of attrition. They know that they don't need to invest anything into that fight, and they can waltz on toward point B. Darksided will get one more attempt here, but Colorhex is in the perfect spot to shut it down with a big Dragon Blade here when everyone's all bunched up trying to come through those choke points.
Yeah, one last opportunity to contest. Self-destruct comes through on the defense. Punk goes down to Jordation. When you're out of the mech using the self-destruct, that is when you're in a bad position as a D.Va. Colorhex throws out the Dragon Blade, finds one, looks for the second. Oh, there we go. Finally does find Cantus. They secure point B. 2:38 on the clock, Jordan. Is that enough?
Potentially. We'll have to wait and see. Colorhex very smart there with the Dragon Blade. Waits for the Transcendence to disappear from Molotov. Then decides to pop his Dragon Blade. Then he can follow up, get more kills. A lot easier to get damage done when there's not a Transcendence on the other side of the field, of course. But the question was, is 2 minutes and 38 seconds enough for Sydney Drop Bears? Well, Darksided came in with a little bit more time here into point C, and they're holding forward as well. So Sydney Drop Bears are going to have to fight tooth and nail for every single part of this point. Again, both teams back onto goats. Again, we're going to see some long fights here, and I think that favors Darksided.
It certainly does. If they can at least get this down to overtime, Darksided have an advantage. Jordation, you can see 97% energy, 100% energy here on the Zarya. Does so much damage with that beam when he's all charged up. Turbo going to go down. That's a result of all the DPS coming out here from the Zarya. Darksiders, they do have the spawn advantage coming through to point C. But Goats, Jordan, as you said, everyone stays alive for so long. So many ultimates coming out. Coalesce and self-destruct. This is huge. That is a big self-destruct coming out from Shoyo. And the Drop Bears now find themselves with an advantage.
They do have an advantage, but is it going to be enough? That's the real question for me. Rally will be up for Yuki. We'll also have an Earth Shatter for Mooney. So there are 2 powerful ultimates available for Darksided. If they can hang on even longer, then Graviton Surge is coming up shortly as well. And with the power of the rally, they might just be able to hang on here long enough. It's going to really be relying on Yuki and on Mooney. We need a big Earth Shatter out from Mooney.
We do indeed. A Kraken has a Coalescence available as well. Yuki goes down straight away.
There it is.
That won't help.
No.
Earth Shatter does not find anyone. A Kraken pops the Coalescence. Look at all of these kills going to the Drop Bears. Darksided falling one by one. Maybe this will be enough. The self-destruct available as well. But both teams, Punk throws it out. The Drop Bears throw it out, and Punk's the one who goes down.
Drop Bears are not being able to win this fight cleanly enough. Darksided hanging on for dear life, and they're just about to get ahead in terms of that timer. Now with 26 seconds left for Sydney Drop Bears. Darksided have done better than the Sydney Drop Bears have now on their defense, Ben.
This is such a crucial point of the game. The Drop Bears do not get this before overtime ticks over. Darksided are in such an advantageous position. Yuki coming through on the Doomfist. It won't be enough. 8 seconds on the clock.
Mooney,
7 seconds on the clock. Comes out with the wrecking ball. Cantor's on the point.
They've done it, Ben. They've done it. Oh, I don't know. Have they done it? I have absolutely no idea. Was that overtime? Was that overtime?
We're about to find out. Wow. Wow. 3-3. Time remaining.
I've got no idea. I've got no idea, guys.
I think there was 1 second on the clock.
Was there time? Was there time? Pixie reckons there was 0.4 seconds on the clock, everybody. We'll find out.
0.4 seconds. I don't even. I do not even. And the reason why this is vital is because when one team achieves the goal with time left on the clock and the other team doesn't, they get such a huge advantage getting to go again, getting an opportunity to win. However, if both teams still have time on the clock, everything changes.
Oh, they did.
Wow.
A minute left on the clock.
A minute gets fed through to the guys on both sides here, which means that there's only 26 seconds difference.
Well, 26 could be all the difference, Ben. We've talked about it time and time again. If they had 30 more seconds, if they had a minute longer, these kinds of questions, they need to be answered at the end of this round. If Sydney Drop Bears lose here, we might be saying in 5-10 minutes time, what if they had, you know, an even time? What if they had 26 seconds extra than what they have right now? But it's going to be Darksided on the defense first, as is how things go. If you have the extra amount of time, you are the one that defends first, and then you know what you need to do when you move over to the attack. It's goats out from Darksided, but Sydney Drop Bears have read it well. They've got the power, they've got the Sombra. They can try to shut this one down.
So, after all of that, 50 seconds now remains as they roll on out of spawn. The Drop Bears on attack, Darksided here on defense. And they're going to get really 1 and a bit shots right now, Jordan. They're going to try and roll into the point.
Darksided don't want to lose too much HP early on here. They don't want to give free shots over to Colorhex like they are. If they allow Rocket Barrage to come up big, that could really shut things down on the side of Darksided. So they need to be careful with how they're playing around this competition.
The Drop Bears looking to capture. They've got 1/3. That's a good start. Now every percentage point
Molotov is dead.
To make it 2 ticks. As you said, Molotov goes down. The Drop Bears looking pretty good. If they can get onto the payload, if they can do this, which it looks like they will, that means they set into overtime. And as long as they stay on the payload, they can continue to play on attack.
Well, that's a good start for Sydney Drop Bears. Darksided did not run the right composition to deal with what the Drop Bears had there. I'm surprised actually that Darksided go for a composition like that, but you reap what you sow, and now they're going to have to defend the second point. This also means that they're going to have a lot more difficulty trying to push in on their own attacking side. It means they have actually something to attack as opposed to, you know, only having to get 1 tick or something like that.
And the thing is here, because we have this first choke point, because the payload slows down right here, you know that everyone will be at overtime by this point, irrespective of whether they capture the first point quickly or not.
EMP!
EMP does come through. Molotov goes down. Quats finds that kill. Darksided going down heals. 1 by 1. And as you said, no heals, no tank, no DPS. The Drop Bears continue to push on through with the payload.
Darksided just need to reset now. I think the pressure might be getting to them a little bit. They're dropping healers very early on in these fights. They're allowing Sydney Drop Bears to get those early picks, and it's not looking like the Darksided that we saw in the regular time of this map. No ultimates available for Darksided, but there are some available for Sydney Drop Bears. Shoyo has been very, very good, of course, on the Diva, and not to mention just that, but with the self-destructs as well. Colorhex does get low, but he's okay. The payload still pushing on forward as I speak, Ben. Darksided are just scrambling for a defense here, but they can't really get themselves lodged into anything substantial.
They need to come back, they need to regroup, they need to do something, because right now the Drop Bears are finding all of the kills. Colorhex will have the Dragon Blade available in just a second as well. Self-destruct on the point. At this time, overtime is so quick. If everyone drops off, that is it. game over and they have to swap sides.
Yeah, the problem for Darkside is that they haven't fully been able to reset every time they've tried to get positioning. Sydney Drop Bears has been there harrying them, and now it even looks like Sydney Drop Bears could actually close this map out in the overtime, Ben. They've got the EMP, they've got the Dragon Blade, they've got the mines, they've got what they need to make this work. If they can shut down Molotov, perhaps before he gets that Transcendence off, pick off one of those healers early on in the piece for Darksided, they might just win. And there it is, there's no Transcendence now.
Oh my goodness, they all go down. The healers get picked up and Kraken traded back. But look at this, Colourhex pushing through. Mooney picks up 2 big kills. Is this going to be enough?
Oh, those mines! They hurt a lot, Ben. They hurt a lot. Quats gets 2. Turbo and Yuki going down. Punk's now back in the match, but again, Darksided are going to need to slow things down here. They're trying to contest as much as they possibly can. The trickle back into this point favors the defenders, but Sydney Drop Bears will get back there in time. Darksided might just have done enough.
Colourhex on the Doomfist. He swaps off because Doomfist is so quick to get back onto the point. But as we said before, once you're off the payload in overtime, when it's gone for so long, it just drops away. However,
Wow.
when you think about how the first attacking phase went for the Drop Bears and how they struggled, and now they managed to get so far with only 1 minute on the clock.
Yeah.
All of the payload section of Hybrid was done in overtime. This is a very difficult situation for Darksided.
You've got to be feeling confident now if you're Drop Bears, I think. That's very, very well done with only that minute on the clock, like you said. But look, if Sydney Drop Bears can do it, Darksided can do it as well. Again, the way that you win in a situation like this is you get that first push, you make it work, you have the ultimate advantage, you have the momentum, you have the positioning, you continue that steamroll on forward, and you never allow the defenders to properly set up on the defense. That's what Sydney Drop Bears did. That's what the guys on Darksided are going to need to do now as well, and it's going to be a bit of a cat and mouse game. Rock, paper, scissors. What composition are we going to run? What composition are they going to run?
Well, that's it. You have so little time as well. An extra 26 seconds, sure, that'll help. But if they do manage to get through, it's all going to be in overtime from there.
The benefit, at least for Darksided, is if they lose the first fight here on the first point, they can reset, they can change their composition up if they feel that's what they need to win the first point. Really what it comes down to is winning that first point and keeping the steamroll going. So really you've got to put all your eggs in this first point basket. If you don't get that, you don't get anything. So that's the focus right now for Darksided. Everything past that, they need to think about later on down the piece. But Jordation, around the back, getting the info, going to be really, really annoying for these 2 tank players with that hack.
Yeah, normally, point A is a little bit forgiving. But when you've only got 120 on the clock, when you're into overtime, you're going again, every single kill counts. There is very little you can do if things go wrong. And right now, Darksided need to use the last 60 seconds here to get themselves onto the point, onto the payload, and across the line. Colourhex, this incredible player, we've seen him time and time again on the Pharah, getting kill after kill. What's he going to do right now?
The dive is good from Darksided. They get on top of both of the healers, but they're not able to find a frag. Yuki in the back line there on Tracer, trying to do some work, but he's just not getting the damage across. Turmo, however, does find one. There's trades back from the Sydney Drop Bears, however. Darksided are going to need to slow down. They're going to need to reset. They're going to need to wait for those respawns. There's 30 seconds left for them to secure this point, for them to secure overtime.
Look at this, they're still dying now. So when they're getting picked up now, they have to wait to respawn.
It doesn't matter. They still are going to have time to get onto the point. Sure, it's going to be maybe a little bit hurried, but they can still have one more crack at this one. If Mooney goes down, however, that's a huge pick. He's been spotted. Maybe Sydney Drop Bears can deny any point on this cap at all.
And Punk's only now just coming back to it. He won't
the hack and the sleep
until the very end. Mooney gets picked up. The Drop Bears have all the ultimates. Look at that EMP, prime position, Colourhex ready to go. Rocket Barrage, look at all those kills. The Sydney Drop Bears will pick up Eichenwald. This is incredible. It was so very close the first time around. This time around, however, they're going to hold out point A. We are at 1 apiece, Jordan.
Yeah, great stuff from Sydney Drop Bears. They don't let the pressure get to them. It was looking a little bit worrisome there going into it, but they managed to get the job done. Seconds, not even seconds. It's milliseconds that matter there for Sydney Drop Bears to secure that overtime, and they make it work. I mean, geez, that was something. I think the problem really for Darksided was that they continually got staggered on their defense, and the same can really be said on their attack. They just continued to try and make that point work when really they needed to reset. They needed to back out and fully commit to it once again with a proper push But that final push that they got there on the first point of Eichenwald in the overtime wasn't really a proper push. It was a trickle.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't what they needed to do. And as we bring our Kiwi counterparts back onto the desk, Avril, I feel like we're watching the second semi-final all over again, where things are starting to turn around. That match there on Eichenwald, that could have gone either way in the middle, and in the end, it was very much all drop bears.
Well, the margins are very close, right, Ben? I mean, you're talking about split seconds here. Not capping with any time remaining means we go into a sort of phase in the game where into the time bank, it could be a draw. The Dark-sided team only then need to cap 1/3 of A, and then they will win the map. If they don't, the worst result they can have is draw. Now it's a loss because Sydney Drop Bears were able to get some time remaining. Not only then, we look at the actual time bank itself. With 1 minute, they nearly finished the entire map. That is absolutely ridiculous.
That is so absurd, isn't it, Pixie? We actually see it quite a lot in Overwatch, particularly in contenders, and it's a big surprise every time we see it. What was the difference the second time around?
That's a bit of a tough one to call, but I think the reality is momentum was on Drop Bear's side once they got the cap going. And unfortunately, Darksided just weren't running the right composition that they needed on that defense. You kind of touched on it in the game. Like, it's kind of that rock, paper, scissors. Sydney, they picked the right one, and Darksided, when they attacked, not so much. And you don't have really that extra time to play with. It's just so unforgiving.
Jordan, look, we got your thoughts during the game. Now that it's all sort of concluded and we've settled down, what is your major takeaway from Eichenwald?
I mean, I think Darksided just got a little bit rattled there. When the chips were down, Sydney Drop Bears, they were the ones that were able to adapt to the situation that was presented to them. They called the counter pick correctly in terms of the composition. Darksided running the GOATS composition on their own attack. Maybe if they would have run a different composition, they could have had a better chance there. Or should I say they were on the defense when they were running GOATS, but you know what I mean? They just got counter-picked, and unfortunately, Sydney Drop Bears, it felt, read the play a little bit better toward the end there than what Darksided were doing.
Avril, when we bring it all back together and we talk about momentum, and I talked about shaking the tree, I think you were right in what you said before. They shook the tree, the Drop Bear fell out, and they were punished as a result.
They're not very happy about losing that previous map, and they're here to take their revenge already. And the other thing is, when we talk about compositions, well, a little bit of that conversation coming through, that initial Dark-sided time back defense, the first one when they play the GOATS 3-3 comp, they decide to hide into the house, try and get a surprise attack against the Sydney Drop Bears. That's not going to work because you have Jordan on the Sombra. He's scouted out early, he sees what Darksided want to do, and they immediately counter. Because they get such a clean fight win, they're able to snowball through. This is where the real momentum comes through. They get a clean fight win, they don't lose any members, they get ultimates charged. After that, you can win 2, maybe 3 fights afterwards. When you look at the Darksided things, 126 is what they had. That extra 26 seconds doesn't mean anything because they can't afford to lose a single fight. They need to have a fight that is as clean as what the Sydney Drop Bears had to even get as close in terms of distance with 126 total.
Pixie?
I really don't want to diminish how important that 0.4 seconds was, but there is something I do want to touch on with regards to that, and that is there was about 30 seconds or so where the fight was being lost, and it was panic mode. It was stall out. Then it got to the point where that had gone on long enough that Darksided could look at that and go, maybe we can stall this out for just long enough that they don't get a time bank. So Drop Bears still getting a time bank, I have to say, isn't too surprising, even though it came so down to the wire, because the reality is they were already winning the fight. It was just a matter of time.
Yeah, what you're saying essentially is that whilst it might have been a surprise, in the scheme of things, they probably deserved it in the end, Jordan.
Yeah, definitely. Well, of course they deserve it. They played it out. They've won it. They deserve it. There's no questions about it. Great work from Sydney Drop Bears. Like I said, when the chips are down, when the pressure's there, it seems that the Sydney Drop Bears can actually step up. And that was a question that we asked of the Sydney Drop Bears. We thought they might have a problem. If they get down into these difficult situations, are they going to be able to stand up tall and play from behind? Well, the answer now is yes.
Well, guys and girls, it's one apiece in our huge best-of-7 grand final. The Sydney